Hey guys, we are on Social Studies Module 2, Lesson 2, Spanish Exploration. So today we're going to talk about some of the Spanish explorers, and this lesson's really fun, so I'm excited for you guys to do this lesson and learn about the Spanish exploration. So this is Lesson 2. Lesson 3 is about English exploration, and then Lesson 4 is about after the discovery of North America. So this kind of goes along with our language arts in that it's exploration across the Atlantic and when people arrived to North America and who. So this is about who came first and why they decided to come to North America. So what will I be learning this lesson and what will be my assignment? So here's some of the Spanish explorers: Christopher Columbus and Amerigo Vespucci, Juan de Ponce, Hernando de Soto, and Francisco Vasquez. These are guys that all contributed to finding North America and starting to get it colonized and settled. And these are all part of the people that were the Spanish explorers. And you'll learn about in the lesson why they decided to become explorers. I'll say they definitely wanted more land. They wanted more wealth, they wanted more resources. They were adventurous kind of people who were looking for a new life and looking for some power and wealth. So thanks to these guys, they kind of got the exploration started and started mapping out routes and things like that. So in this lesson, what are our objectives? So I will be able to define terms related to exploration, so you're going to learn some words that maybe you've heard before, maybe you haven't. One of those examples could be like colonization. In this lesson, you'll see that word and kind of figure out what it means. I can explain the effects of European exploration. I can differentiate among European explorations. So there was lots of different people coming from different places in Europe to explore and find different islands and different continents that hadn't been explored before, and so differentiating between who found what and what they did there. And I can explain the reasons for European exploration, so why did people from Europe come? And then I can describe the interactions among Native Americans and settlers from different nations. So a big question in this lesson is, if you were a Native American who was already in North America and settled and had a good life, how would you feel if these new Europeans came over looking for land and wealth and resources? How would you feel as one of those Native Americans? So I want you guys to think about that throughout this lesson. So in our past lesson, we learned about the Native American tribes and groups. We learned about the different regions and all of those different tribes that are already in North America and settled and had been for years and years until these explorations began and all these different explorers started to come over from Europe. Alright, so what is my assignment? The assignment for this lesson is actually super fun and super flexible and creative. You guys are going to actually create a newspaper article about Christopher Columbus when he came over. And so there's a rubric to it and an assignment to it, and we'll come back to that because we're going to go into Buzz for a minute and look at the lesson. So in Lesson 2, Spanish exploration, here we are in Lesson 2, we start to learn about these Spanish and why they came over. This is a little snippet about their ships. They came over on galleons. This might kind of remind you of pirate ships for those of you that like pirates and pirate adventures, which I really love. So the Spanish galleons were really cool, and those were the ships that they came over in. And there's our objectives. Spain sets sail. So one of the things I learned on the ship was that Spanish explorers started leaving Spain in the late 1400s. So that's pretty cool. In the 1400s is when Spain, one of the first European countries, started to come over to find North America. And Florida was one of those first new discoveries. So here is a little activity that talks about the three main reasons that these Spanish explorers wanted to come. One being land. They wanted new land. Europe was getting crowded, and they said, let's go find more land that can help us gain wealth and power. And so if you click on those cards, you can read a little bit more about it. Wealth. Okay, at this time there were a lot of people who wanted wealth and wanted power, and so exploring over to a new land was a way to do that. And they also thought, well, if we can go explore this new land, we can find gold and silver and resources, natural resources that can bring wealth back to our country of Spain as well. And so, and then in resources, going and finding timber, metals, gold, silver, spices, food sources that were different from Spain so that they could trade and make wealth that way. And so when these explorers started to go over to North America, they generally had a sponsor who paid for the trip to go over, and then they would have to pay their sponsor back or provide things for their sponsor. And the sponsors was also interested in land and wealth and resources, and that's why they sent these explorers and were willing to pay for their trips and get their ships and whatnot to get them going. So, specifically, you guys have all heard of Christopher Columbus. So, Christopher Columbus, why is he important? He was a Spanish explorer. He was actually born in Italy, but his sponsors, like I just talked about, were from Spain. So he was born, right away he kind of was drawn to looking for sponsors so that he could become an explorer, but he didn't have the money to do it. That's why he needed a sponsor. And so he wanted to go to Asia, actually, is where he was wanting to go. And so he was able to find sponsors in King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. They agreed to give Columbus the money, hoping that he would bring back gold and spices and converting any people that he met to Christianity. So the king and queen said, well, yeah, this is a good opportunity. We'll pay for you to go if you'll bring back gold and spices and teach Christianity along the way. So they saw benefit in that. So when he set sail, there was 3 ships that set sail. So not only Columbus, it was lots of other voyagers. But Columbus was kind of the one that started it, which is why we know his name and why he's famous. And so he took 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, over the Atlantic Ocean to find Asia and to find gold, spices, to teach Christianity, whatnot. And so he found land, which was the Caribbean, and then he brought back things with him to Spain. He had a second voyage where he brought back more spices and gold, and this time decided to bring people with him to start a colony. And then his third voyage, he went to South America, and the 4th voyage wasn't very successful, and then after his 4th voyage he ended up dying in 1506. And so Christopher Columbus was a very important guy in history because of all of these things. But remember, he wasn't the only one that went. There were a lot of people that went with him on those 3 ships and went with him on these voyages. So for your assignment, you're actually going to write a newspaper article on Christopher Columbus and one of his voyages. So you'll have to have some fun making up some characters that go with him. So that should be fun, and I'll explain that more in a minute. So other important Spaniards. Christopher Columbus, again, he wasn't the only one. He was one of the first ones, but there was also other men that went. And so, I mean, we know some of the first ones was more like the Vikings, the French, the Swedish that we learned about in our earlier lessons. So they were also groups that were exploring. Christopher Columbus came after them. And so did Amerigo Vespucci, who was an Italian explorer as well, who made several discoveries in in South America. So here's some of their trails. And we have even more explorers that we can learn about. So there's Juan Ponce de Leon, and here is Hernando de Soto and Francisco Vasquez de Coronado. And you can read about their explorations and where they were able to go when they started exploring shortly after Christopher Columbus. So there's that word colonization. What does colonization mean? Those pink words, you can click on them and you can see what those mean. And so if you would like to learn more about these explorers, especially about Amerigo Vespucci, because there's not much information about him on this page, you are welcome to go online with a parent or adult and Google search more about him and his life. So you're welcome to look around and explore more about Amerigo Vespucci if that's something you're interested in. Alright, we're getting to the end here. We're on page 5. So here's that question. How do you think the Native Americans felt about the Spanish arrival? Do you think they were happy? They had friends coming? Do you think they were mad because they wanted to take over their land? I want you guys to think about that and do this activity. And here's our lesson summary. What we learned, there was a self-check review activity. Go ahead and do that if you haven't already. And what is my assignment? So this actually is the assignment we're going to do. So it says print Spanish exploration. You don't have to print that. I have created a Google slide that you can make your newspaper article in. So read the instructions carefully before writing your newspaper article. Check your work to make sure you have included each item in the checklist, and then submit your Spanish exploration newspaper article. That is going to be your assignment for this lesson. So let me show you that assignment that I've linked. So we have the newspaper article rubric. That's what you guys are going to be graded on. So what did you learn? I learned about Christopher Columbus's exploration. I learned about the reasons for Spanish exploration. Why did they go looking for new land? And I learned about the effects of Spanish exploration. Can I apply what I learned? So I explained the details of Christopher Columbus's exploration. I explained the reasons and the effects of his, and that will be in your newspaper article. And then share what I learned. I included everything on my checklist in my newspaper article. I wrote incomplete sentences and paragraphs. Remember that? And then I wrote an interesting article that included images and quotes. So be creative with this. So let me show you the assignment. So Spanish exploration newspaper article assignment. So here we are. Make your own copy of the assignment. Spanish exploration. So here's a picture of Christopher Columbus. Spanish exploration assignment. Write your own newspaper article about Christopher Columbus's journey to the New World. Instructions. Write a newspaper article detailing Christopher Columbus's journey to the New World. The following checklist tells you exactly what you need to include. An attention-grabbing headline, so make a title, a headline for your article. A byline, basically that's you, because you're writing a newspaper article. Who was on the voyage? You can make up characters, have fun with that. What happened as a result of the voyage? Was it good or bad for Spain? Where the voyage took Columbus and the sailors, so where did they end up? Where did Christopher Columbus and his sailors go? How the voyage came to be and the reasons for the voyage. So how did Christopher Columbus get to make that voyage happen? Instructions continue. So these are just some hints to help make your newspaper article more interested. So include quotes from people who were there. You can make up funny quotes, more serious quotes about the people that were on the trip. Include images related to the article. So you're welcome to draw one or find one on the internet. There's a typo in that, also change that. Include additional information. This is where you can add the fun stuff, such as what Christopher Columbus and the sailors saw and what the weather was like on the journey. So that's all stuff that you can include to make your newspaper article more exciting. And then the next slide is where you're actually going to do your newspaper article. You're welcome to change this slide however you want. You can change the background, you can put in pictures, quotes, whatever. Be creative. This is for you guys. If you want to create more than one slide or you need more than one slide, you're welcome to also do 2 or 3 slides or whatever you choose. So here's where you're actually going to put the newspaper article. So you need to have a title and the article, and then images, quotes, and any fun things like that. So once you finish with your newspaper article, you can turn it in, and that's your assignment for this lesson. So I'm really excited to see these awesome newspaper articles that you guys create. So have fun with it.